beautiful night. Maybe we can catch a sunset.
I know.
Good evening and welcome everyone to the September 4th, 2024 Yarmouth Planning Board meeting. I'm Joanne Crowley, Chair. This is to formally advise that as required by Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, paragraphs 18 to 25, and pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, and an act relative to extending certain state of emergency accommodations, signed into law on June 16, 2021, the Yarmouth Planning Board will hold a public meeting on September 4th, 2024, at 5:30 p.m. The public is welcome to attend in person this evening or via alternative public access provided on the notice of meeting available on the Town of Yarmouth website. I'll begin by taking roll call. Susan Britta.
Present.
Will Rudenstein.
Here.
Jim Saban. Peter Slovak.
Here.
Ken Smith. Joanne Crowley, present. Seeing that we have a quorum, I'll now call the meeting to order, so please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Joanne. Hi, everybody.
Hi,
Kathy.
First on our agenda this evening is a formal design review of VCOD SPR application number 2023-1A. For the applicant is the Town of Yarmouth, 669 Route 28, West Yarmouth, Assessor Map 32, Parcel 122, zoning districts VCOD, VC1, HMOD1, Road, and B2. The Yarmouth Department of Public Works is proposing modifications to the design and layout of the municipal pump station number 3, located at the entrance to the Riverwalk Park.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. Just wanted you to know Mr. Smith has arrived.
Mr. Smith, great, thank you.
Thank you.
So, I'd like to start, Mike, with you, if you want to walk us through the changes here, and then we'll move back to Kathy and her planner memo, and then we'll open it up for some discussion.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair. Mike Judici from CDM Smith, representing the town. As you indicated, we are looking for a change in the design for what we call pumping station number 3. So this is the station that's located at the front of the Riverwalk Park project. Was originally permitted as part of that project, and combined with the park itself. The design at that time was for a larger building associated with this pumping station. So this station will function to collect all the wastewater along Route 28, basically from the Parkers River to the Barnstable Town line. All the flow along 28 will end up at this pumping station, as well as some flow from east of Parkers River that's coming under the river under another contract, will be pumped up to the Water Resource Recovery Facility to be constructed up on Buck Island Road. So the original plan that was conceived actually way back in the 2010 iteration of the design of this project called for a much larger building with a different type of pumping station than we're proposing now. That station was what's called the wet pit dry pit station, which essentially had a large wet well where all the wastewater would get collected and a dry well where the pumps would be located essentially in a large basement area beneath the building, and then would pump up to the treatment facility. Since that time, we've had some change in thoughts and approach toward the pumping stations, moving more towards submersible stations. In that time, the technology has improved quite a bit, whereby the pumps actually sit in the wastewater, which is what we're proposing here and what we're using at the 4 other pumping stations that are part of this phase 1 of the town's wastewater program. So by virtue of having the pumps in a wet well, submersible, we're able to use a smaller wet well, which can be precast concrete sections as opposed to large cast-in-place structure that was originally proposed, and the footprint of the building was able to be reduced. So whereas the original control building for this pumping station that was submitted as part of the Riverwalk project was roughly 40 feet by 50 feet. We've reduced the size of the building to about to 24 by 40 feet. So the street-facing portion of the building has shrunk about 10 feet, from 50 feet to 40 feet. We've kept all the same architectural elements. I think you have the original design that we had prepared. So we've kept that same look of the building. It has all the same features. Has the horizontal clapboard, hardy board, PVC front, if you will, and you can see the elevations there. So it looks very similar in style and presentation as the original building. It's just a little bit smaller, and results in a significant cost savings to the town by making the structure smaller, and it doesn't have that below-grade basement portion, if you will, that the original design was intended to have. The pumps will be located in a wet well vault behind the building. So there are 3 structures outside of the building. There's a wet well where the wastewater gets collected, a valve vault that has some piping and some valving, and then a meter vault that has a meter, has meters on the force mains that exit the pumping station heading up to the treatment facility, so the town can keep track of the flow that gets pumped. Those structures will be elevated a couple of feet above grade because we are in a flood zone here, so the whole site is elevated. You'll notice the grading shown on the site plan. We have to have the critical equipment, all the electrical components, up at elevation 14. The 100-year floodplain in this area is elevation 11, so we need to be 3 feet above that floodplain elevation. So the first floor of the building is at elevation 14, which is why you see the grading shown as it is. In terms of the site layout, the actual physical dimensions of the entire site haven't changed much, other than, as I said, the building has gotten smaller. The plantings that were originally proposed are still proposed, and the same native species that were originally shown. We did add some fencing along the front of the building to the east and along the western side to screen some of the facilities that are located behind the building from 28 and from the entrance to Riverwalk Park. That's generally an overview of where we're at, and happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Kathy, you want to jump in, please?
Sure. Because there wasn't a significant amount of site changes, it didn't go through the site plan review team again, but they did go through the design review committee, and they viewed it very positively, and they either felt everything met the standards or was not applicable. The only one comment that they had was related to maybe extending a section of the fencing closer to Route 28 to kind of hide the louvers that are on the west side of the building, which has been reflected in the plans that you see today. So in the planner report, there really is just a very simple motion. I didn't have any specific conditions to add. And that's about it.
Okay. Questions from the board? Susan, Ms. Britta?
Just, so the number of the number of pumps stays the same, they're just smaller and submerged, is that correct?
Different types of pumps, and they are smaller. The other component of this that I didn't mention is that under the original concept back in 2010, there was a lot more flow coming to this station. That was one of the reasons it needed to be larger, because we have designed and is in the process of being constructed another pumping station further east on 28, up near Long Pond Drive, across from Stop and Shop. There's a pumping station that's going to go there. That's going to intercept some of the flow that was originally going to come down to this location and take it up to the treatment facility. So the exact number, I think originally there were going to be more pumps in the original facility than there are going to be needed here, just for that reason, because there's less flow that's going to get there.
No maintenance issues, no additional maintenance issues associated with
It's just a
this?
different type of operation. Under the old one, the operators would just walk down to a basement, if you will, and work on the pumps in a basement facility. Here, the pumps have to get pulled up out of the wastewater, obviously, and then they can be serviced off-site.
And the area that's being created, because you're going to have a smaller building, that's regular landscaping, just more of what we already had anticipated?
Correct, yes.
And then the fence will be, what kind of a fence?
The fence is a cedar board fence. We have a detail there, so it's a 6-foot, I believe we're showing it.
Okay. Down in the, okay, I see it.
Upright.
Yeah, so it's a solid wood fence with vertical planks. It's not a plastic PVC fence. It's
Not chain link.
not chain link, no.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you,
Okay,
Mr.
great.
Chairman.
Madam Chair, just a quick question.
Mr. Rubenstein?
Mike, given that, even though it's at the front of the park and it's on Route 28, there are certainly some neighbors across the street. I would think Captain Parker's and the Pirate Museum. And so can you just talk about what future odor control is? Because, if it ever gets stinky there, I was just sort of wondering what that is and how our friends who might encounter it would get some quick relief.
Great question. Yeah, and we don't expect odor issues here, but obviously you need to plan for the unexpected. So we did carve out an area that would be designated for putting an odor control unit to handle any odorous air that comes out of the facility. So the intent would be to, see how things go in the first few years, and if it becomes an issue, then at least we have provisions that would allow a unit to be installed that would handle any odors.
Would you mind just giving the 30-second explanation as to how you handle the odor?
Essentially, big carbon units. So you pull the air through a carbon canister, large
Yep.
carbon canister, like a 55-gallon drum. If you envision something that size, so you'd draw the air through the carbon, and then that pulls out the odors.
So the pump station is built so that you can, or you place this pad so that if you ever need to,
Correct.
you can pump all that smell
That's correct.
through there.
Through
Okay,
through
cool.
that unit. It'd be a skid-mounted unit
Yeah,
that
yeah,
would
yeah.
get put right on that pad.
Well, I just wanted to,
Yep.
since we're
No,
here,
it's-
we're thinking ahead. I know you guys always think ahead.
Good question.
But
We tried.
I'm sure that our friends across the street, as well as those that are going to enjoy this park for many decades, would like to know that that's being thought about. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mr. Slovak?
What would the activity level be like? Is this just daily? Will there be people there?
So daily, plant operators or town employees would be coming for each of the pumping stations. That's a normal course of operation. They just come and check and make sure everything's running properly, take some notes in terms of any issues that need to be addressed. And yeah, it's essentially a daily visit for 20 minutes or so, half hour maybe, by a town employee or contract employee, whoever's operating this.
And the shower is for somebody who,
So that's a code requirement. There's been a change to the plumbing code as of last December that required bathrooms with showers to be put in these types of facilities. It wasn't previously required. But I can't imagine it's going to get used very often, if at all.
thank you.
You're welcome. Hato.
Mr. Smith?
I'm good. All the questions have been asked already that I wanted to ask.
Yeah, that's right. I have a couple of questions, Mike. One is related to the bathrooms. I picked that up as well. And I noticed in the original, you were required to have 2 bathrooms. I mean, yeah, because of the size of it.
There were 2 in the original,
Yeah.
yes. I think at
It
that
just
point,
makes-
that point, the whole gender neutral wasn't in the code or in the realm, but now you can have
You can have
one,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay,
Which
that-
is probably one more than you really need at this facility. But that's-
And I noticed, again, just going, Kathy had sent us the first round of drawings. There was a chimney?
So originally, there was a chimney. It was more for aesthetics because we had a couple of you have the vent from the bathroom, and then you had, in that case, the odor control, because it was much larger system. There was an odor control unit in the building, so the vent from that was inside this chimney. So it wasn't a chimney, there wasn't a fireplace here, it was just used to mask the vents coming out of the structure. We eliminated that. We didn't think that was the best look.
Getting back to what Peter had asked about in terms of operations, is there a supervisory control system at each of the pumps that leads back to a control room somewhere that someone can see if something's, a big red flashing light is going off?
You described it perfectly, yes. Now, the control room will be up at the Water Resource Recovery Facility on Buck Island Road. So yes, there are SCADA signals that get sent back. Again, in addition to daily visits, regardless of whether anything is happening here, any alarm conditions get sent back to what would be the plant.
Just one,
Yeah.
and there's a redundancy, I assume, built into that in case we lose electricity.
Yes.
Generator.
Yes, there is an on-site generator. There's a generator in the building.
Any other questions? Okay, so may I have a motion to approve Municipal Pump Station 3 located at the entrance to the Riverwalk Park project at 669 Route 28, VCOD SPR 2023-1A, as presented at the Planning Board meeting of September 4th, 2024, and in accordance with the submitted plans and materials.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Britta?
Aye.
Mr. Rubenstein?
Aye.
Mr. Slovak?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Unanimous. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank
Mike.
you all
We
very
appreciate
much.
it.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks for your
Mike.
time.
Do you want these back, or? All right, thanks.
Next up on our agenda are the potential zoning bylaw amendments that we worked on last week, and which Kathy has updated with the standard format of including an explanation. We didn't have the explanation part last week when we were going through the red line version. So Kathy, why don't you want to walk us through the two amendments?
Sure. I think for the affordable housing, like Joanne said, the actual verbiage and the content of the article has remained the same as you've seen it before. But I tried to give a little bit of an explanation to give people enough information to understand what this formula was and kind of why we had it. I'm just going to read it really quickly. This article would modify the existing methodology for calculating the cash payment a developer could provide to meet the affordable housing requirements of the zoning bylaw. Affordable units are required when 5 or more housing units or lots are created. Our bylaw allows for affordable units to be provided on-site, off-site, or to make a payment to the Yarmouth Affordable Housing Trust, who would use these funds to help create or preserve affordable units. Allowing flexibility in meeting the affordable housing requirements of the bylaw helps support the overall development of housing. The methodology is being modified now as market conditions have changed significantly since the existing formula was developed. And I'm going to insert in 2013, there was a comment from Mary Wagon, who suggested that we kind of give an idea of how old this formula is. The current formula ties the fee to median income, whereas the new formula ties it to median home prices in our area. The new formula better reflects the actual costs to create an affordable unit by basing the fee on the difference between the median home price and the price set for an affordable unit. The median home price will be set using data from the Warren Group, a well-established firm that provides up-to-date property and real estate data, including median home prices. The Mass Executive Office of Housing Livable Communities sets the affordable price. The cash payment amount shall be calculated on an annual basis when the HLC calculates the affordable price and shall be set for the following 12-month period, providing developers with a predictable cost as they move through the design and development process.
Any suggested adjustments to that, or changes, or edits? None? Mr.
Question,
Slovak?
I don't know if this formula was tested, but the new formula better reflects the actual cost to create an affordable unit. So I'm not sure, have we tested that to see if it actually does? Or maybe I don't understand the actual cost.
Yes, I think when Mary had done her original memo to us, she had shown the difference of the calculation of what an affordable, I think she ended up using March data, and I think the average at that point for a median was like $575,000, and the affordable price was $250,000, and that difference would be what would be paid. You got to understand that when a unit gets created, and say you're creating a home, the person purchasing is still paying the affordable rate. So they pay the affordable rate, plus the developer paid the additional amount in order for the Affordable Housing Trust to create that unit.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Just one technical question. Kathy, the payment goes into the Yarmouth Housing Trust. It doesn't go into the general fund, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so I think we're all good on this one. I meant to ask, Kathy, when do, I think you have it on the calendar, when do these get submitted to the Board of Selectmen?
I would probably submit them as soon as possible after this meeting, but they're due by the 13th to the town administrator's office.
Okay,
September 13th?
yeah,
Yes.
Correct.
okay.
We still have to have a hearing.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
In the first meeting in October.
Right.
Right, okay.
Correct.
Yep. Okay. The next zoning article, number 2, seasonal employee housing at hotels and motels. And I'd like to.
So again, the article is just taking all that content that we discussed at our last meeting and just putting it into an actual article format, so nothing has changed there. The explanation, this article would limit hotels and motels located in the Hotel Motel Overlay District 2, or HMOD 2, along South Shore Drive to a maximum of 15% of their rooms being eligible for use by seasonal employees. Section 404.5 was implemented to provide options for much-needed temporary housing for seasonal workers that are vital to supporting our tourism economy. This section allows eligible motels, hotels to use up to 15% of their rooms to house their seasonal employees or seasonal employees from other Yarmouth businesses from April 1st through October 31st via an annual permit issued by the building department if they meet all of the special provisions of this section. If they do not meet these provisions, including exceeding the 15% limit, they would need to apply to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a 1-year special permit. This article would prevent HMOD2 properties from applying to the ZBA to use more than 15% of their rooms for seasonal employees, but would retain their right to seek relief from the other provisions of this section. This article also includes minor clarifications in the definition of transient uses at motels and hotels.
Any questions? Ms. Ruda?
Kathy, can I just ask, I just want to double check. Is there any other zoning district that this would apply to, or is this strictly the hotel motel? Is it just district zoning 2, or are there any other places in the town where there is that loophole?
No, it's just the HMOD2 because it has the underlying residential zoning districts. There are some hotels that are located in residential zoning districts, but they're not eligible for this.
Okay. This is strictly the ones in District 2?
Correct.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
quick question.
Mr. Rubenstein?
The map included in our packet was super helpful.
Yeah, sorry, I should have done that last time. Sorry.
Okay. I noticed it was dated 2008. Is there any incentive or
Needs to be
reason to
updated.
update it? Right, only because I think in the interest of public education, I think it would make a lot of sense. Is there going to be time to have that ready before the public hearing on October 2nd?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, great. Because, yeah, I think that's just in the public interest so that everybody understands where we are now. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, good check. Peter?
Yep. Kathy, do you know how many hotel rooms are in HMOD 2?
Oh,
So what,
10? He's our HMOD2 guru.
Yeah, in the range of 500 plus. Easily, I'm just going off the top of my head, it's actually probably pushing, just an HMED2, you're probably pushing between 600 and 700 if you add up everything on the drive.
Yeah.
I think that might be a question somebody asks so they can do the math on 15% or just have an idea of what they might be looking at.
Yeah, it's easily to get that information.
Yeah. Agreed.
90 or so?
What's that?
Like 90 rooms total, roughly.
But as I mentioned at the last meeting, the only hotel motel in the HMOD2 who is participating in this right now is the Village Green, and they have a permit from the building commissioner for 4 of their 46 rooms. So it's less than 15%. No one else has taken advantage of it.
Any other questions? I guess we can move forward with this and get this in the agenda for the Board of Selectmen
Yeah.
to review with them. I want to thank again Ellen Pace for joining us and Gail. Your help on this was really appreciated. We can see how this was important to you, and we're glad that we were able to accommodate your interests. Thank you. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you again, Madam Chairwoman.
Ellen, did you want to say something? I'm sorry.
No, I was just returning the thanks to you
Oh,
and
okay.
for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Okay, so we're good to go on zoning amendments. Next up, an update on the local comprehensive plan, Kath.
Hang on 1 second. We did have the meeting with the Finance Committee, and Will and Joanne attended. I'm going to give a kind of a brief summary. There's a lot of things that were discussed, and I'm sure Joanne and Will can add to my brief summary here. But some of the impediments they obviously saw was wastewater infrastructure. We need to get that in place in order to promote our businesses. We also had concerns about the Cape Cod Commission's DRI process and how that might be impacting our development, as well as the need for workforce housing. They were really kind of very closely tying, having attainable housing. No attainable housing means fewer workers, which could be a downturn in our visitors, which could then reduces our revenues from short-term rentals, meals and rooms taxes. So kind of kept bringing it back to housing as being kind of the linchpin to start economic development. They were talking about reassessing zoning to look for more opportunities to include more mixed-use, top-of-shop housing and duplexes and triplexes by right. So I think that's something that we're going to have to take a closer look at. I also think a lot of people may not be fully aware of all of the zoning that we do have in place. So during that meeting, we did talk about, the HMOD1 and the Village Centers Overlay District and the road bylaw. And we kind of went through a bunch of the projects that you guys have been seeing lately that have been kind of resulting in these 4 to 8 to 13, residential unit projects that have been very beneficial. So they wanted to look also into, whether we wanted to be looking into some type of form-based code or whether we're updating our design standards just to be sure that we get a clear definition of we want this development to look like. And also doing some type of public engagement to really arrest fears of this increased density. So I think a lot of that can be done through different types of renderings and graphics, and hopefully we'll get some of that out of the economic study that we're going to be doing. And also looking for ways to incentivize creation of year-round housing. One of the ideas was maybe buy down the restriction for people to put a restriction on their property to do it year-round. We're talking about development of a long-term capital plan for municipal buildings like we have for water. Just so people might know, we do have a request out now for proposals for 5 town properties: Town Hall, Senior Center, Fire Stations 1 and 2, and then the DNR Rec and Chamber buildings to go in, do a full assessment, and identify a 10-year capital plan for that. There's also funding has been voted for recreation, which will identify long-term capital improvements needed at our recreation facilities. So I think Bill Scott's really been spearheading these types of things, of really identifying where our problems are. And this is a way of solving our maintenance issue. Let's get ahead of it. Let's get these 10-year plans, capital plans in place. They talked a lot about civic engagement and trying to get more people to come to town meetings, using Facebook page, electronic voting, and childcare, really trying to find ways to make town meeting more attractive to all constituencies. Looking at different tax rates to have the commercial tax rates kind of keep up with inflation. Right now, our the amount that residential is paying has gone up exponentially, kind of, and commercial has not even been keeping up with inflation. And then also maybe looking into a split or residential tax exemption to lower the tax burden on full-time residents. That's a case where if you're a full-time resident, you would be paying less property taxes than someone who's not a full-time resident. Also looking at ways to incentivize a diverse economy. They talked about maybe trying to get some legislative changes to the tourism revenue preservation funds to divert more of that money to actual incentivizing economic development. Let's see. And looking, and also being sure that we're not just looking at long-term solutions, but also trying to look at some short-term solutions and trying to address some of these critical issues, also while we're working on all these issues in parallel. Matakees was talked about quite a bit, and the need to get addressing that quickly, and everyone feeling that we're already behind on that. We're paying money to maintain a building that's essentially a very small portion of it is being used at this point. So everyone felt this was a really good opportunity to look toward multiple uses. Some ideas were maybe Mashpee Common style with top-of-shop housing or some light industrial. They also want to take a look at evaluating school infrastructure needs long-term to see if we have excess capacity and what we might be needing in the future, and also promoting more dialogue with the DY Regional School District and Dennis and Yarmouth together earlier in the preparation of their annual budget. It seems like we always find out most of the information in March when we've already done a lot of work on our own budget. Also looking at EMT services and ambulance receipts, FinCom did a very detailed analysis of that. So there's a lot of calls that are going to our assisted living, to our nursing homes, to our senior facilities, and also to some of the affordable housing in town. And what are the ways that we might be able to decrease unnecessary calls and maximize payment for the services? Because right now the calls have gone up quite a bit, but the revenues have not been keeping pace. And then just talking to developers and actively marketing Yarmouth and letting developers know that Yarmouth is really open for business. And discuss the number of recent, like I mentioned, recent small residential development projects, and they were really happy to hear about that, and it kind of led to the fact that we really need to do a better job of communicating with the residents to let them know what we are working on, what we have been accomplishing. I find that quite a bit when people make a statement and I explain what we have and that they're surprised. So there is some communication that needs to go on to let residents know all the great things that we're working on. And I appreciate, Peter mentioned that at the CEDC, all the different types of things that the planning board has accomplished. And then also there's one other comment about consider standardizing permitting process between the Cape Towns. I think that might be a little bit difficult because we all have different online permitting programs. And I'm sure I missed a lot of stuff. There's a real down and dirty overview of it. We did get a lot of great written comments from Stephanie Cox. She's no longer on the Finance Committee, but she was a long-term member and was the chair, and she had a lot of great ideas that I sent you guys, her written comments. So that's about it.
Okay, thank you. You want to say anything?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just like to say thank you to the Finance Committee and especially the chair, Richard Simon. I think in general, through no fault of anybody's, sometimes our individual committees can be a little bit siloed, and it's not anybody's fault. So to have the cross-pollination, if you will, of the Finance Committee and the members of the Planning Board in the same room together, I think is valuable, notwithstanding how there was a similar meeting with the Zoning Board. It was an informal meeting, but there was a meeting between our two boards, not within the last 24 months, I believe. Yeah. And I just think in general, the more ways we can do that, the better, and especially as it relates to the governance and administration and funding of our schools, because it just feels like there's a lot of separation and not a lot of cross dialogue, and the more opportunities there are, I think the better. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I think you covered it, Kath. I didn't have anything else. Again, I would like to thank the Finance Committee as well for having us join them for their regularly scheduled meeting. They raised some important issues that go to the heart of what a local comprehensive plan is. And Kathy did a great job, as did Will, trying to explain what this thing is, this local comprehensive plan, and how the vision statement is very broad, and it's meant to be broad, and now it's time to fill in the gaps, and that's where we're headed. They didn't quite understand, and I even mentioned, I said, maybe it's a constructive criticism as to when we do go to meet with the various committees, that we assure that we get them as prepared as possible to understand what it is and what we're looking for. But it was a lively discussion.
Can I just ask Kathy one question? Kathy, a technical question. With all of these special zoning areas, like VCOD, VC1, HMOD 1 and 2, the road, are these prioritized in any way when someone fills out an application? Does the zoning board or does planning, should we have all these opportunities to approve projects, and they apply under these, in certain ones they apply for, certain ones automatically apply because of where the project is. Are these prioritized in any way so that the board,
It's really a function of when people come to us and they describe, they usually have a site in mind.
Okay.
And then they have a project in mind, and then they're like, how can we make this happen? And that's when we'll talk about it. Well, if you happen to be an HMOD1 property, you might want to go that way. Or if you also happen to be in the VCOD, we kind of explain all the benefits to people. And like, with regard to like 228, that's not in the HMOD1, that's
Right.
not in the VCOD. So that's where we kind of went quite quickly to the road bylaw to say that's a good way for you to get some mixed use.
it's really site-driven? The owner comes, and then the conversation is expanded to try to get the best development for that particular site. Okay.
Right. Yep.
Okay, more to come on that. Kathy's going to go, at the end of the meeting, we're going to go through the calendar, because we've got a bunch of meetings coming up, so I'll wait till we get there. Next on the agenda are meeting minutes. May I have a motion to accept meeting minutes of August 21st, 2024?
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Britta?
Aye.
Mr. Rubenstein?
Aye.
Mr. Slovak?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Committee updates. Any committee updates?
One quick one, Madam Chair. The next RAC committee meeting is Monday, but there had been some talk over the summer, and I'll hopefully get some more information for our next meeting together on the 18th. There's been some talk about having some public meetings, or meetings with the public, to share updates beyond just whatever updates folks are opting in for, whether that's electronically, or email updates, or there's some YouTube videos now going up on a regular basis with updates on traffic and progress of the various phases, and also to listen to community feedback, because lots of folks are starting the hookup process, the very beginning of it, and obviously it's a first time for everybody, literally, in the history of the town, so it's a good opportunity to get some questions answered and hear how the process is going. So I will, as soon as I have those dates and times, I will share them with you. There may even be an opportunity to have one of our regularly scheduled meetings here in this room and not at DPW, or perhaps at the senior center. So more to come on that, and I'm remiss that I didn't have that information, but I will have it shortly. Thank you.
I had attended the CPC, Community Preservation Committee meeting on August 28th, and we went through, with the great help of Don Marie, project updates on the Friends of Bass River, the West Yarmouth Parks, Taylor Bray Farm. We also had a request for some approvals. The Friends of the Meeting House, the Friends Meeting House, would like to utilize the same contractor they have now that's working on the work, because they are working out really well. And they know, we know they're coming back for phase 2. So what they were requesting is not to go out for 3 bids, essentially. And we said, as long as you're pleased with the work that, Catalyst, right? Is it No, I forget the name of the company. It's not coming to me. Anyway, and
Cape Associates,
right.
yeah.
And then we also had Taylor Bray Farm. We had some great photographs. I don't know if anybody's seen the barn. It's all reshingled. It's really quite amazing. So the work is progressing on that. I'll share,
Passing those around.
yeah, I'll share that with you guys.
I'll pass them down.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
On the contract that they want to sole source, does anyone know what the value of that contract is?
Not yet.
Not yet. They need
They're just
special,
gonna, they need to, it will be, they will be the only bidder.
we know that for sure.
I don't know that for sure, but that's what they're asking.
Okay. Do they need special counsel to bless that approach, or
I
are they
don't think so.
authorized to do that on their own?
We didn't, I'm not sure. Don Marie, what do you,
No, we'll run it through procurement
yeah,
and
Make
check
sure
with
it's-
Svetlana.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that was CPC. One other thing, the application for the grants is out on the street, and they are due Friday, September 20th at noontime. So the next round of CPA funding is out on the street. So that's what I have.
I'm just going to quickly throw in case anybody hasn't seen it on the website, is some really awesome footage, drone footage of the Riverwalk Park. So we looked at that at the CPC meeting as
was
well.
really-
So if
that
you
was
get a
really cool, too.
chance, I think it's pretty front and center, right, Kathy?
Yeah, it's just like halfway down the page, as soon as it opens up, it's right there. There's 2 videos. Ellie Lawrence did them for us. It looks great.
I know, I should try to.
You can really see things now. You can see where the parking's gonna go and the pads and everything. It's really good.
That's what it looked like. Bad,
Big change.
yeah.
See if I can.
Okay. Correspondence, Kathy, or any staff updates?
Just one more.
Yep, sure.
Board item. Kathy, has there been any update at all about Great Island and what's going to happen up there? It's been now a decade.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because one of the things that people keep talking about in some of these things is the town being more proactive in purchasing some blighted properties. I don't know how that gets done through redevelopment authority or whatever, but I did look to see, I couldn't even see what it was for sale for. So I can get in touch with Hyatt and get an idea of what's going on there, but I'm not even sure she's marketing it right now.
I didn't see any sign up there anymore. There's still a banner that says coming soon. Of course, it's 10 years old. So soon, I guess, is a relative term, but it has been a decade. I think it was 10 years ago this year. In fact, I know it was 10 when I was on zoning that we gave them virtually everything they asked for. And nothing has happened. Then we had COVID, we had all that, but there's still 10 years, and that's such a major intersection. And we now have the nice hole in the, the donut place next door. So and we have the nice new gas station across the street.
Yeah, Cape Cod
nice.
Farms, that's really
It's a great
terrific.
development opportunity node right there, if we could get someone to go in and take that space, but it still looks awful. The Basil store should be given some sort of prize when that place does get redeveloped, because they have hung on for 10 years.
Yeah.
But I don't know I don't know what to do about that. I don't know if anyone knows what to do about it, but it's still a blight on the town. And it's such a major intersection, too.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Donna's put the video up on the screen.
Oh,
Found it.
here we go.
Oh, there it is.
Pretty cool.
It's amazing.
You can see how huge it is.
Yeah.
So there's the upweller,
Right.
right?
Yeah, you can see all the parking on the right, and all those trenches are for the electrical
Yeah.
and the water.
And
And you can
this
see on the right there, that little kind of arched area, that's where the play area is going to be. They've already put that stone wall in.
Right.
And those are the pads, Kathy, for the artist shanties?
Yes, yep.
And then is that where the boat launch is down there, or was it at the end, the
No,
left
it's
side?
at the other,
Yeah,
it's the
yeah.
other end. It's to the left, yeah.
Okay.
And this video was taken a week ago Monday, right? So about 10 days ago?
Right before the big rainstorm. And look at the vista views. Just look at the views. It's gorgeous.
It's too bad we're not up higher. It would really be,
Yeah, she can't get any higher.
I know,
She only
and
has
it's
like.
too bad, too, because you're right, the vistas are gorgeous.
Thank you, John Marie.
Yeah.
The other one shows the, where the boardwalk is going to go. Yeah, the boardwalk loop.
Oh.
It was a pretty big drive-in back in the day.
Right, when you look at it from here, it's
Yeah.
like, wow, what a nice chunk of land that we have.
Hopefully the select board will name the park on Tuesday night.
Oh, right, that would be great. So you can see where the water is in the middle. That's where the boardwalk is going to go around
Right.
through all the upland. not through the marsh, right?
Yeah, even the woodland trails are all cleared and roughed in, and it's just, when I was walking through there, it was cool and tranquil, and it was just really, really, really pretty.
And really, you can't see almost anything going on from Cape Isle Drive or Pockanocket. You wouldn't know all this
It's all camouflaged.
stuff is going on.
Yeah, they can't start the boardwalk until October because of time of year restrictions on being on the marsh, so they're concentrating on the park portion itself.
All right.
Very nice.
Thanks, Ellie Lawrence.
She did good.
Yeah.
Any other staff updates, Kathy?
No, I think all my updates are related to the meetings and stuff.
Okay, why don't we go through those?
So on Saturday is the rescheduled National Night Out. It's not at night. It's from 10 to 1, and it's going to be at the Highway Department at 507 Buck Island. I'm going to go. I'm going to distribute flyers for the ways you can do your public comment, whether it's just a written comment or whether you can go in and do some mapping. I'd really would encourage all of you guys to go in and start populating that map. I populated it a little bit on some things that I knew about that I've been hearing over and over, and then people can go in and they can like it or dislike it, so we can kind of start getting an idea from the crowdsourcing map, of what they think of the different ideas and comments. So the more that are in there, the more that people have to react to. So please feel free to go on in there, and then also publicizing the meeting. The open house meeting that's going to be on September 26th at 6 p.m. at the senior center. So I'm going to go to that. Our next meeting, our regular meeting, is September 18th. That's our officers' elections and committee assignments, and then we'll also be reviewing the format for the open house. The BSC is currently kind of working on finalizing and developing that format. As Will mentioned, October 2nd is going to be our public hearing on our zoning amendments. And inserted in between the October 2nd and October 16th is we're going to have a table at the Seaside Festival, and BSC Group's going to come down. So dependent on weather, it might be October 12th, Saturday, or the 13th if the 12th is a rain out day. We have been coordinating with the fire department, and it looks like we have some space to set up next to them because we're not going to be there both days. So it's good because people are always attracted to the sparkly things that the fire department has. So hopefully that will draw people over to us. And then we can start, we're going to go over with BSC Group kind of what kind of information they're going to be trying to solicit from people. I think a lot of it's going to be similar to what we'd be asking at the open house meeting. The October 16th is a regular meeting, nothing particularly scheduled for that meeting right now. October 22nd is when we're on the select board agenda to present our zoning articles to them. And then hopefully on November 6th, our first meeting in November, BSC Group can kind of come and kind of give you guys an update on the LCP, all the data, all the information that we've collected. We've been concentrating, I think, on the bigger 3 interviews. I need to start scheduling some interviews with some other people like Senior Center and others, town staff, and also with the schools. So there's some additional stakeholder meetings that need to be happening kind of concurrently with all this other stuff that's going on. We're collecting all of this data in hopes that for our public input meeting in January, we might really start fleshing out some of these. These are some of the action items we're thinking about. What do you think? How are we doing with these ideas, or what other ideas do you have? So that's kind of what we're moving towards, that January meeting where we're going to be actually soliciting for input on action items. I think that's it.
Okay. Thank you, Kathy. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nice.
Thank you, Dawn Marie, and thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Thanks so much,
Kathy.
Dawn
Thank you,
Marie.
Don Marie.
You're welcome. Feel better, Kath.